When you think of Starbucks, you probably picture coffee. But over the last decade, the company has quietly engineered one of the most sophisticated corporate sustainability operations in the retail world. They built this reputation through their Greener Stores framework. To date, this rigorous internal standard has verified over 9,400 cafes globally for meeting strict environmental benchmarks. Those green initiatives translate directly to the bottom line. By optimizing energy and water efficiency, like installing electric vehicle chargers in their parking lots, Starbucks has shaved over $60 million off its annual operating costs. And they've pledged to go much further. The company's stated multi-decade goal is to cut its total carbon, water, and waste footprints in half by 2030. This massive green infrastructure creates a highly profitable baseline. It attracts eco-conscious consumers who are willing to pay a premium, and it secures capital from ESG-focused investors who demand operational responsibility. But that carefully constructed baseline is suddenly under threat, starting with the hiring of the company's new CEO, Brian Niccol. Niccol's employment offer included a highly unusual provision. Instead of relocating to the company's headquarters in Seattle, he negotiated an agreement allowing him to commute from his home in Newport Beach, California, a distance of roughly 1,000 miles each way. To make this work, Starbucks provides access to a corporate Gulfstream jet, and recently the board removed the $250,000 cap on his personal flight allowances, citing security concerns. The environmental math on this arrangement is brutal. By making this trip 3 days a week, this single commute is estimated to generate over 700 metric tons of CO2 a year. That absolutely dwarfs the carbon footprint of an average American household. Shareholders noticed immediately. The National Center for Public Policy Research filed a proposal demanding a formal audit of these travel emissions, citing severe greenwashing risks. The discrepancy creates a clear liability. When a corporation charges premium prices and requires consumers to use paper straws, while its chief executive commutes on a private jet, it destroys brand equity and invites costly consumer boycotts. As a business leader looking at this crisis, the solution is clear. Starbucks must implement the Executive Emissions Congruency Policy. This is a strict internal corporate governance framework. Its entire purpose is to ensure that the perks handed out to top leadership directly align with the environmental commitments the company makes to the public. The core initiative is a mandatory public annual report, explicitly analyzing the gap between executive travel emissions and the company's 2030 climate goals. Presenting this data to shareholders acts as a mathematical fail-safe, forcing the board to reconcile unrealistic goals with unchecked executive behavior. If you want the market to believe the operational sustainability preached at the retail level, you have to enforce total transparency at the very top of the corporate ladder. This policy is a perfect structural fit because the company already has the architecture in place. They meticulously track granular energy and waste metrics across thousands of individual stores. We aren't inventing a new process here. The congruency policy simply takes the analytical framework Starbucks already uses for its greener stores and scales it up to evaluate the C-suite. The primary roadblock is legal. Starbucks lawyers have argued to the SEC that executive travel is merely an ordinary business matter, which typically shields it from shareholder oversight. But that defense falls apart when you look at the company's own marketing. By building their entire brand identity around aggressive, highly publicized climate commitments, Starbucks has elevated their emissions footprint from a mundane operational detail into a significant social policy issue, and the broader market agrees. This pie chart illustrates shareholder proposals filed by Topic in 2025. It shows that governance proposals now dominate the landscape, making up 48% of all filings, far outpacing standard environmental or social issues. For a modern, publicly traded corporation, trying to hide a massive executive carbon footprint behind ordinary business clauses is no longer legally or structurally tenable. This policy establishes a transparent mechanism for board accountability, providing a direct counterargument to accusations of greenwashing. More importantly, this proactive transparency specifically satisfies the stringent demands of major institutional investors, like the New York State Common Retirement Fund. These massive funds are actively wielding their power. This bar chart tracks recent voting statistics, showing that institutional funds overwhelmingly vote for governance and environmental proposals, at 74% and 81% respectively. and they are actively voting down directors at companies that lack robust climate risk management. This policy protects trillions of dollars in institutional investment capital by providing the accountable governance that major funds now strictly demand. Authentic corporate sustainability requires a top-down mandate that governs the boardroom as strictly as the storefront. Corporate leadership must operate under the exact same environmental standards that the company uses to market its products to the general public. By adopting the Executive Emissions Congruency Policy, Starbucks can close the hypocrisy gap, secure its long-term brand integrity, and fortify investor trust in a market that is hyper-aware of greenwashing.